In this video, you guys are going to learn what your trail arm does throughout the backswing. So I'm going to explain things throughout the takeaway, the halfway point of the backswing, and at the top of the backswing, using some different kind of visuals to help you understand a bit more. And if you guys enjoyed the video, hit that like button. And if you are new to the channel, you can subscribe because it really helps me create more videos like this for you guys. So most people, when it comes to the trail arm, really want to know what happens and how your trail arm moves specifically. So when I go over the takeaway, I'll kind of show you from the side and front view as to what your trail arm does, how your body should move. And then after the takeaway, I'll explain what your trail arm does or the separate movements that are happening in that trail arm and wrist, just so that you know how to set the club in the right position and how to position your arm in the right place. This is quite important because it sets you up for a really good downswing and can give you the best chance at hitting a good shot. The first part is obviously just up to this point in the takeaway position when the club is around like hip level. So we'll start with this explanation from the side view, but after you get in your setup position, it's quite simple really. Like the trail arm shouldn't actually be doing very much at all. Okay, the movement of the arm should be controlled mostly with what the body does. So there should be no kind of movement of the breaking or down of the trail arm like this in the takeaway. It should stay pretty much the exact same as where it was at address. The mistake that most people make, or the movement of the trail arm that most people make, is kind of this external rotation kind of too early. So you can see that my forearm just kind of rolls kind of clockwise, right? So when I do that, two things kind of happen. So one is that the face will tend to roll open, okay? And then number two is that the handle will tend to move forward. The club head actually moves backward, okay? So people tend to do that way too early, okay, right away at the start. So it kind of looks like this. So if you do things correctly and you kind of turn your body correctly, you can see that my arms don't really move at all, don't do anything. The movement of my body is what gets the club and my arms to move in that position up to this point. So the club face is angled a little bit down. My palm of my right hand is still kind of facing forward. It's not kind of rolling up and facing up to the sky. That's a pretty simple way to think about it or visually have it, is the face is a little bit down. Everything goes kind of around in an arc because your body is turning. We don't want your trail arm to kind of move straight away. Okay, we don't want it to roll, and we don't want the wrist to break even more. We don't want that trail wrist to go more into extension, okay? Or we don't want it to go more into flex. I see a lot of people do that as well. They'll kind of push the grip forward like this, okay? But if you just go to your setup position and you don't move anything and you just kind of turn your body, then it should set you in the right position there without having to do anything in your trail arm and wrist. Okay, so now that same explanation, but from the face-on view. Just so you guys are aware, when you get into the correct position, in the takeaway, but just by maneuvering your body correctly, not really moving your arms, what you should be seeing is that your right arm is fairly visible. Okay, so when a player actually starts to like externally rotate their arm and bend it and break their right wrist back too early, you can kind of see how my right arm is hidden more so behind my left arm. Okay, so that's something I visually see when kind of analyzing people from the face on. If you do find out that you are this kind of player, then again, you're just rolling or turning your forearms clockwise too much, and you're getting your trail arm to rotate that way too early. So if you were to kind of keep everything together, move everything around you, make sure the face angle is a little bit down, you should visually clearly see that the right arm is above the left arm. So again, this is the incorrect way. You can kind of see my forearms kind of rolling, and this is more the correct way. The biggest question that many people have is what happens after this takeaway position up to this point. Okay, so you can kind of see the movements that I make from this takeaway up to this halfway point. Okay, so I'm going to explain just basically from this view first, just to show you. But if I take my left hand off of it up to this takeaway point, when I start to set the club, what happens first is that your trail arm actually begins to move externally. Okay, so now you can see how my right arm kind of turns this way. It's almost as if I'm like losing an arm wrestling match. Okay, so again, up to that takeaway point, the first thing is that trail arm will tend to move into that external position. Okay, and at the same time, my right wrist is gonna go more into extension as well. Okay, so it's kind of looking like this. So a basic way to see this or feel this is that the palm of your right hand or the trail hand faces a little bit more away from you. We don't want the palm facing more back towards you, okay? So again, if you were to do that, that means that your palm or your wrist isn't bending back. It's actually just, you're just kind of rolling it open like this. So you have to make sure that your arm itself will move more externally, but then your right wrist will have to bend back. You don't want your wrist to like turn over at the same time. Your arm externally rotates, but you're bending your right wrist back, kind of like this. That's the motion. Again, from the takeaway, very, very slowly, if you can see it. That's kind of what happens. So this elbow, like from my perspective, it feels as though that this elbow is kind of more in front of the wrist, this way. So we don't want it like this, okay? We also don't want to pull this trail arm back behind us, so it kind of looks like that. We want to make sure that that elbow kind of still faces down and feels as though this is more in front this way than the wrist, okay, with the right wrist bent back. The most common mistakes from this point is that people rotate the wrist over so the palm is facing up, or what happens is that they tend to pull the arm back behind them this way, so they kind of look like that instead. The movement from here up to this point should look very, very minimal, okay? So you can kind of rehearse it up to this point, and then just make sure you just make that little movement change to there, okay? It's very, very little as compared to someone that does this or someone that does this. Thank you guys so much for watching. Now, if you have any questions about anything that I've talked about, you can leave a comment down below. See you guys next time.